Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
An explanation of something that is not immediately obvious. The edict was subject to many interpretations. The act of interpreting something is expressed in an artistic performance. A mental representation of the meaning or significance of something. An explanation that results from interpreting something. The report included his interpretation of the forensic evidence. An explanation of something that is not immediately obvious. He annoyed us with his interpreting of parables. A written communication in a second language having the same meaning as the written communication in a first language. An explanation of something that is not immediately obvious. The act of interpreting something is expressed in an artistic performance. A performance of a musical composition or a dramatic role, etc. A coat of stucco applied to a masonry wall. Giving an acknowledgement of obligation. Perspective drawing of an architect's design. An explanation of something that is not immediately obvious. Often imitations are extended to provide a more accurate rendition of the child's intended meaning. The act of interpreting something is expressed in an artistic performance. Her rendition of Milton's verse was extraordinarily moving. A performance of a musical composition or a dramatic role, etc. They heard a live rendition of 3 pieces by Schubert. Handing over prisoners to the country in which a crime was committed. Written material intended to be read. The teacher assigned new readings. A public instance of reciting or repeating, from memory, something prepared in advance. A datum about some physical state that is presented to a user by a meter or similar instrument. He could not believe the meter reading. A mental representation of the meaning or significance of something. The act of measuring with meters or similar instruments. He has a job meter reading for the gas company. A city on the River Thames in Berkshire in southern England. A particular interpretation or performance. On that reading it was an insult. The cognitive process of understanding a written linguistic message. His main reading was detective stories. A written communication in a second language having the same meaning as the written communication in a first language. A written work, as a novel, that has been recast in a new form. A mental representation of the meaning or significance of something. Something a little different from others of the same type. An experimental version of the Night Fighter. An interpretation of a matter from a particular viewpoint. His version of the fight was different from mine. Manual turning of a fetus in the uterus, usually to aid delivery. A statement that makes something comprehensible by describing the relevant structure or operation or circumstances, etc. The explanation was very simple. The act of explaining, making something plain or intelligible. I heard his explanation of the accident. Thought that makes something comprehensible. A dramatic or musical entertainment. They listened to 10 different performances. Process or manner of functioning or operating. They compared the cooking performance of each oven. The act of performing, of doing something successfully, using knowledge as distinguished from merely possessing it. They criticized his performance as mayor. Any recognized accomplishment. They admired his performance under stress. The act of presenting a play or a piece of music or other entertainment. We congratulated him on his performance at the rehearsal. A presentation to the mind in the form of an idea or image. The state of serving as an official and authorized delegate or agent. A performance of a play. A body of legislators that serve in behalf of some constituency. A congressional vacancy occurred in the representation from California. A creation that is a visual or tangible rendering of someone or something. A factual statement made by one party in order to induce another party to enter into a contract. The sales contract contains several representations by the vendor. An activity that stands as an equivalent of something or results in an equivalent. A statement of facts and reasons made in appealing or protesting. Certain representations were made concerning police brutality. The act of representing, standing in for someone or some group and speaking with authority in their behalf. The right of being represented by delegates who have a voice in some legislative body. A presentation to the mind in the form of an idea or image. A presentation to the mind in the form of an idea or image. An itemized statement of money owed for goods shipped or services rendered. Send me an account of what I owe. A record or narrative description of past events. He gave an inaccurate account of the plot to kill the president. Grounds. Don't do it on my account. To give an account or representation of in words. A statement of recent transactions and the resulting balance. They send me an accounting every month. The act of informing by verbal report. By all accounts they were a happy couple. Keep an account of. A formal contractual relationship established to provide for regular banking or brokerage or business services. He asked to see the executive who handled his account. A statement that makes something comprehensible by describing the relevant structure or operation or circumstances, etc. I expected a brief account. A short account of the news. The account of his speech that was given on the evening news made the governor furious. Furnish a justifying analysis or explanation. I can't account for the missing money. Be the sole or primary factor in the existence, acquisition, supply, or disposal of something. Passing grades account for half of the grades given in this exam. Importance or value. A person of considerable account. The quality of taking advantage. She turned her writing skills to good account. An interpretation of the U.S. Constitution holding that the spirit of the times and the needs of the nation can legitimately influence judicial decisions, particularly decisions of the Supreme Court. An interpretation of the U.S. Constitution holding that the spirit of the times and the needs of the nation can legitimately influence judicial decisions, particularly decisions of the Supreme Court. Cause to spin. Spin a coin. Prolong or extend. Spin out a visit. Rapid descent of an aircraft in a steep spiral. Revolve quickly and repeatedly around one's own axis. The act of rotating rapidly. He gave the crank a spin. A distinctive interpretation, especially as used by politicians to sway public opinion. The campaign put a favorable spin on the story. A short drive in a car. He took the new car for a spin. A swift whirling motion, usually of a missile. Form a web by making a thread. Spiders spin a fine web. Make up a story. Spin a yarn. Stream in jets, of liquids. Twist and turn so as to give an intended interpretation. The president's spokesman had to spin the story to make it less embarrassing. Work natural fibers into a thread. Spin silk. A new or different interpretation. A new or different meaning. A mystical or allegorical interpretation, especially of scripture. A collection of things, goods or works of art etc., for public display. A systematic interpretation or explanation, usually written, of a specific topic. An account that sets forth the meaning or intent of a writing or discourse. We would have understood the play better if there had been some initial exposition of the background. Music, the section of a movement, especially in sonata form, where the major musical themes first occur. A systematic interpretation or explanation, usually written, of a specific topic. The endeavor of a Muslim scholar to derive a rule of divine law from the Quran and Hadith without relying on the views of other scholars. By the end of the 10th century, theologians decided that debate on such matters would be closed and Muslim theology and law were frozen. Some reform-minded Islamic scholars believe that reopening ijtihad is a prerequisite for the survival of Islam. The luminous flux incident on a unit area. A condition of spiritual awareness, divine illumination. Painting or drawing included in a book, especially in illuminated medieval manuscripts. An interpretation that removes obstacles to understanding. The degree of visibility of your environment. An interpretation that removes obstacles to understanding. An act of explaining that serves to clear up and cast light on. Personal interpretation of a text, especially of the Bible, using your own ideas. An interpretation based on the exact wording. The commercial activity involved in repairing old structures or constructing new ones. Their main business is home construction. The act of constructing something. During the construction we had to take a detour. An interpretation of a text or action. They put an unsympathetic construction on his conduct. The creation of a construct, the process of combining ideas into a congruous object of thought. A group of words that form a constituent of a sentence and are considered as a single unit. I concluded from his awkward constructions that he was a foreigner. A thing constructed, a complex entity constructed of many parts. She wore her hair in an amazing construction of whorls and ribbons. Drawing a figure satisfying certain conditions as part of solving a problem or proving a theorem. The assignment was to make a construction that could be used in proving the Pythagorean theorem. Putting the wrong interpretation on. His misinterpretation of the question caused his error. Putting the wrong interpretation on. There was no mistaking her meaning. An understanding of something that is not correct. There must be some misunderstanding. I don't have a sister. Putting the wrong interpretation on. The act of removing solid particles from a liquid. An interpretation that removes obstacles to understanding. The professor's clarification helped her to understand the textbook. Twist suddenly so as to sprain. The wrestler twisted his shoulder. A sharp strain on muscles or ligaments. Cause, a plastic object, to assume a crooked or angular form. Twist the dough into a braid. Twist or pull violently or suddenly, especially so as to remove something from that to which it is attached or from where it originates. Form into a spiral shape. The cord is all twisted. Turning or twisting around, in place. With a quick twist of his head he surveyed the room. A miniature whirlpool or whirlwind resulting when the current of a fluid doubles back on itself. A circular segment of a curve. An interpretation of a text or action. To move in a twisting or contorted motion, especially when struggling. Extend in curves and turns. The path twisted through the forest. A hairdo formed by braiding or twisting the hair. The act of winding or twisting. A jerky pulling movement. Any clever maneuver. A sharp bend in a line produced when a line having a loop is pulled tight. An unforeseen development. Practice sophistry. Change the meaning of or be vague about in order to mislead or deceive. Don't twist my words. The act of rotating rapidly. It broke off after much twisting. Do the twist. Form into twists. Social dancing in which couples vigorously twist their hips and arms in time to the music was popular in the 1960s. They liked to dance the twist. Turn in the opposite direction. Twist one's head. An explanation or critical interpretation, especially of the Bible.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.